about 5 years ago, we asked Charlie Munger, we were sitting right there, what he thought of Bitcoin, and he said rat poison. Back then it was about $100+ per Bitcoin. Today it's 9,000. Is it still rat poison?
Well, probably rat poison squared.
Yo, and welcome back to another episode of the Nyc and Griff Show. Public service announcement. Don't forget to remind your friends and family that one Bitcoin will always be one Bitcoin. Now let's dive in. Today is Saturday, November 12th. It is 8:56 a.m. Griff, I'm excited to chat a little bit today. We've got some interesting things that have happened over this past week. The elephant in the room is FTX, the exchange. We were just kind of talking about this. What is your thought? What is your initial thought shooting from the hip? FTX exchange filing for Chapter 11, which is not exactly bankruptcy. It's restructuring, but it's kind of the step that you take right before you go to bankruptcy, really.
Well, you know what I'm thinking, just because I've been in it, even before they were collapsing, like there was a lot of rumors from Bitcoiners that this was going to happen or something was going to happen, or there was just like, I mean, it's been a wild year. And my thoughts were, well, I don't do the whole exchange thing. Now, Strike, as you know, Nick, somewhere I do like buying my Bitcoin on, also had a problem, but they go right back on Twitter and go, yeah, we were a prime trust liquidity partner. This was a lot of these exchanges liquidity partner who is now obviously not solvent and is obviously causing lots of problems for things like crypto.com, FTX, so on and so forth. But I swear to God, all I was thinking was, yeah, like I don't do the whole like crypto exchange thing. Like I did for like a month. Literally, I did for like the best month ever, and I still don't go back. I feel like that's such a good sign. It's like, guys, I made a lot of money doing it really quick. I got super lucky, and I didn't go back. Why didn't I go back? Because I listened to people talk about it, and I was like, so you're like you're genuinely excited about that? I was like, did you hear about this like Bitcoin thing? I mean, like there's so many cool projects going on in Bitcoin. And I saw on Twitter yesterday, Mt. Gox is like an exchange situation that happened a while ago where a lot of people obviously lost their Bitcoin because it wasn't their coin. And a lot of people who've been in the space for a while were like, this is a modern day Mt. Gox, which could be a very good thing for Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think the interesting piece is like, I don't know if you listened to the space that Jack Mallers and Dave Portnoy did exactly about the FTX incident. But one thing that I didn't
listen to, honestly, that's about the only thing I didn't listen to. What was that about? How was that?
It was interesting. Basically, Dave Portnoy is just like kind of a non-Bitcoiner that is like, hey, I want to know what's going on here, and calls Jack Mallers and says, hey, what's the deal? And they basically kind of go through it real rough. And it was interesting to listen to, because I haven't done, and I'm not going to do a ton of research into this deal, because we like to focus on the foundation, right? Not everything that's built on top of the foundation. And you know, the important thing to note before we really jump into this is that FTX and really any exchange is not Bitcoin. They are not the same thing. These exchanges are making markets, right? That is their job, to match buyers and sellers, and they make their money however, right? Well, with the SEC, right? The SEC, whenever they regulate, they make sure that certain practices and principles are happening and are not happening, right? And these crypto exchanges, although they are crypto exchanges, they are selling securities. They're buying and selling securities, which is freaking 99% of all these other cryptos. And so it's important to understand, before we get too much further into this, that these exchanges, any exchange that sells Bitcoin, that crashes, that goes illiquid and files bankruptcy, that is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is completely separate. So getting a little further into it, dude, it is bizarre to me at this point that people still hold Bitcoin. If you're holding other cryptos, I hope to God that it's a very small portion of your portfolio. because most of them are scams outright, and all of them are going to zero.
Well, right, because they're not money. I mean,
Yeah,
that's like
exactly.
that's the whole thing. They're not money. They shouldn't make the claim that they're money. You shouldn't really buy and sell and trade it like it's money. It's not money. It's some weird like thing that's backed by another thing that's backed by another thing that's probably backed by a Bitcoin buy that they made a long time ago. That was
That they sold, that they don't actually hold anymore.
like that. So like it all came from Bitcoin anyway. So I don't know. It's kind of silly, but I actually thought something was interesting. Mark Moss is a Bitcoiner that we follow, and he had a whole thread about pretty much how this is a microcosm of what could definitely happen on like a global scale with USTs, Japan, things like that, and how it can kind of all blow up. And I think that's kind of what's most interesting because, when Bitcoin even crashed originally this year from like 40 to 20 and things and then whatnot, or like 50 and 60 to 20, I don't look at the price that much. I just stack, fellas. Like that's all I do. Just hit the button, stack it. But when the price fell at that time, I don't know. It was like a lot of people quit on the situation. I mean, like I don't know what you think. Like it was just kind of silly, but
Are you saying here just this past week, or what are you saying?
No, I'm saying like at the beginning of the year when it crashed.
Oh,
yeah. A lot of this stuff was already happening, and this is just like a microcosm of things are all backed up, and how you can't really back an entire exchange on things like FTT tokens. I mean, it just doesn't make a whole lot
for sure, absolutely. Well, so the FTT tokens you mentioned are interesting. So I said earlier I'm not going to do a ton of research into this entire situation, but I have read a little bit. An interesting piece. So FTX. Founder Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF. It's funny, Dave Portnoy calls him Sam Binky. He calls him Sam Binky. This guy started a trading firm called Alameda or however you pronounce it. And this was strictly a trading firm where people would give you money, and their job basically is to trade in the markets and make a profit and share those profits with their investors. So that was initially started, and then he started the exchange FTX. And I guess at some point or another, Alameda was having liquidity issues. So he took FTT, right, which is the FTX created token. They just created this, right? Talk about the hardness of money. They just created this, right? They just put the code in, and here we go. Now we've got all these FTT tokens. They moved that over to Alameda and loaned it to themselves, basically, right? They loaned it to themselves, and what they were doing then was using the same liquidity to prop up the exchange FTX and the firm Alameda. And I guess at one point, I think it was CZ, the owner of Binance. There was some balance sheet statements leaked by somebody inside the FTX team, and the Binance guys caught it, and they were like, "Oh, they right out of the gate saw some red flags and said we're liquidating, right? Like we're liquidating. Seems like a bank on the run is imminent. Whatever it was that he said,
right?
And basically caused a bank run. And because there was not enough liquidity." They ultimately ended up pausing withdrawals. So now if your money was in FTX, it's locked up. So again,
a lot of people think that Sam Bankman-Fried was a spook in this situation as well.
Dude,
like
I've
literally,
seen stuff,
and some people even think that's like when Binance saw it, that's why he did like the Binance guy, CZ is his Twitter handle, was saying, or I guess a lot of people were saying that's why he sold it. He was like, this guy was clearly working with the government. I mean, you literally can go back to when the congressmen this year were saying FTX is an example of a great exchange. This is like what we want. And it's crypto, guys. Like it's literally things like this. Almost 20% of asset reserves for crypto.com are in Shiba Inu. But okay, so like probably take your money off of Shiba or of crypto.com.
Wow, you guys seem like you're a great company. How are you storing the value that you have on retainage for your customers, investors? How are you doing? Oh, we're storing it in rice. We've got a big silo of rice that we're storing all our value. It's like, what? Shiba Inu? What the hell are we talking about?
I mean, dude, I'm telling you, this has been the greatest time to be a Bitcoiner ever. I don't even care. The price, again, it does not matter to me. Things like this are hilarious. So apparently also at FTX, it was just a big orgy for like the entire time. It was just
all 10 of them, wasn't it?
And then honestly, a lot of people are going over interviews and posting these clips and like, dude, this guy isn't smart. Like he isn't like, there's no reason that like he should have been the CEO of FTX. And now I believe the CEO that has taken over was the CEO of like
Alameda. It was the CEO of Alameda.
But it was also the CEO.
This girl right here.
Oh, no. But no. The new CEO of FTX is actually the former CEO of like Melvin Capital or Melvin Global or whatever. And he took over in 2009 when they screwed everybody out of like $20 billion. Now he's taking over when they're screwing people out of like $40 billion.
I saw
all
something.
I can tell you guys is don't put your Bitcoin on an exchange, man. I mean, like even a hot wallet.
Take it off.
Even a hot wallet. You don't even have to have the node. Like it's not hard. Get some words, get some Bitcoin, get a little Strike account, get a Swan account, and DCA and stop doing all this BS. I mean, like
it's so simple.
Yeah,
like we may even have to do like, I mean, like Griff said, you don't have to get it. You don't have to run a node. You don't have to go buy some incredible, expensive hardware wallet. Literally freaking download Blue Wallet on your phone.
Like things like this, dude. It's just so sad. Like Twitter is hot right now. And FTX hacker currently dumping millions in altcoins. Like this is going to happen for all of these guys. Is your connection strong over there, Nick? Because I think I lost it for a second.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. But
I was
Twitter,
looking at my phone here.
Twitter is hot right now. I mean, it's just so funny how everybody really thought that crypto was the thing. And now Bitcoiners are like, I saw yesterday somebody was like, Bitcoiners dance on the graves of their enemies like nobody else.
Hey, so look at this. I downloaded I've got the Blue Wallet app on my phone. I'm going to tap add wallet, add now. Look, then you get some options. You get to pick whether you want a Bitcoin wallet, a Lightning wallet, or even a Vault wallet that's got more security, right? Your page would look like this. You're going to click the top button that says Bitcoin. I want a Bitcoin wallet. And then I'm going to tap the blue button there that says create. And then it's going to give me 12 words, right? That's your seed phrase. That's your private keys. Those are the keys to your wallet. You're going to write these keys down on a piece of paper. You're not going to
eat it. And you're going to then eat it and memorize
You're going to memorize it, and then you're going to eat the piece of paper.
Yes. That was good.
But you probably should keep those letters, those
maybe an alternative way. There are there are solutions out there.
So you're going to write these words down in order, and then you're going to tap, okay, I wrote it down, and now look at this. Bang, a brand new Bitcoin wallet with no Bitcoin in it. And now you can take from your exchange, you can, you see these buttons here at the bottom. They say send and receive. You say, I want to receive Bitcoin, and I confirm that I've written my words down, and bang, there's my QR code, and I can even tap this this string here, and it'll copy to my clipboard. Look at that. Copied to clipboard. And now I can go directly to my exchange. I can plug in that receive address, and I can send my Bitcoin to the base layer of Bitcoin, and now I've got zero counterparty risk. How about that? How about counterparty risk? Let's talk about that for a second, Griff.
That's been on my mind a lot recently, but it's also I was actually out to dinner last night, kind of like what was that? I can't remember what the topic was. It was about sales. It was legitimately just about sales, counterparty risk, sales, things like that, but also trust. You can't talk about counterparty risk if you're not going to talk about trust and trustless.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was talking to. I was out to dinner with a doctor and a clinic director, and I was just like, what is the biggest thing to you guys? Like, I was just kind of asking them, when a rep does this, how does that make you feel? Like, because I'm good friends with these people, so I just want to know. Like, I want to know what it is about salespeople that makes it work or makes it
Trying
not
to get
work.
some insider information.
Literally, they go, trust. We have to trust you. And I go, see, but that's a big word. I'm like, I don't understand. Nobody really can tell you what trust really means. I mean, like, that's the problem with trust when it comes to things like Bitcoin, financial markets, counterparty risk, FTX. Like, this is why self-custody is so important, because if it's not your keys and it's not your coins, then you have to trust something or somebody. And that ultimately has been a problem with society, most, in my opinion, most directly in money, more than anything else, which is why if you fix the money, you fix the world, probably, because it's all about incentives. But I mean, Nick, that's what I would say about counterparty risk without even saying the word counterparty risk. Counterparty risk is really, how I define it based on what I've listened to, is you have a 401k. That's really nice. You don't control the market. You have a house, but you have a 30-year mortgage. And when it's up, you pay property taxes. So technically speaking, even something as safe as a house, which I truly believe is a good thing to buy. I'm not a crazy person. It's very cool. But you have to recognize what the counterparty risk is when you buy things. And I don't think anybody's done that for a while. It's the new thing. When I buy Bitcoin, I'm just like, wow. I was like, maybe I can't really sell it for a while once I transfer it to the layer one. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm just like, I mean, I'm straight. Like, it's going to be there. Like, I mean, as long as Bitcoin doesn't die, it's probably going to work out pretty good.
Well, I think the base of it is, like, when you think about counterparty risk, certain things like business, in your example, right? There is going to be trust involved in the relationships you're building when you're building long-term business relationships, long-term professional relationships.
Yep.
It's all about relationships, right? In different industries are different, right? But I know a lot of industries where you're going to be working with people over an extended period of time, you have to build trust with people, right? Because it's people working with people. That's an example where trust should be involved. You should trust the people that you're doing business with if you're doing good business, right? But we should not have to trust some third party for you and I to transact economic value back and forth, right? If I'm doing this here and you're doing that over there, homeboy over here should not be involved in our transaction, right? Now, the interesting piece is that we see this thing called inflation, and inflation is counterparty risk. Inflation is a third party manipulating the supply of money, right? Which in turn manipulates the value of our money, which in turn manipulates us transacting back and forth. But then you also got to think, who is deciding what the rules are? Who is deciding what the regulations and the laws of and the rules of the game, right? Who is deciding that? Because at the end of the day, they decide who is right and who is wrong in their eyes, right? And so, look at what's happening in Ukraine with Russia. We decided, hey, we as in the United States decided that, Russia is the bad guy here, so we're going to cut you from the SWIFT banking system. Right now, we could argue about that all day, whatever. Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? Yada yada. But what about a situation where, we were at one point the bad guy, America, Great Britain. We were the bad guy at one point because we wanted to secede. Secede, is that the right word? From Great Britain, we wanted to separate. They didn't like that. They wouldn't want that. What if, like Texas always talks about, oh, we're going to be our own country. What if Texas was like, hey, we're going to do our own deal now. We're not going to be a part of the United States anymore. The United States is not going to like that. So they're probably going to do what they can to keep that from happening. So the question is, with counterparty risk, at what point, not if, but at what point do you become the bad guy that they want to censor?
Well, right. And if there's counterparty risk, that means trust is involved to a pretty high, depending, honestly, I mean, I would say like counterparty risk, like how risky something is, can very much depend on how much you truly have to trust something implicitly. Like literally just be like, all right, try, here we go. Like, and that's what I would say a 401k is that. but how also all these YouTubers, Instagrammers, Twitter personalities, social media, like all of these people making good money, OnlyFans girls, like doesn't matter, literally does not matter right now. Literally everything as gross as porn all the way to social media is centralized. And these centralizers are selling our data, they're selling ads, they're doing all kinds of things to manipulate people.
They're buying and selling our attention.
Yeah, I mean, like they're
Yeah.
trying. It's not. I mean, it's right there in the money. You know, like it's not a conspiracy theory to say that maybe Twitter advertisers were directing you towards certain types of products, and if you get 50% less ads, you're going to be less likely to just start, I don't know, consuming things you otherwise wouldn't. And it's so comical to me when I talk to people about it, because marketing isn't always about like you see the ad, oh, I'm going to get up and buy it. No, marketing is about like the long-term effect. Marketing is about, why do we think cereal is actually good for us? Marketing is about, how did vodka get into the United States? You know, those types of stories, not, you know, you see an ad on TV and you're like, oh, I'm going to go buy it like super quickly. No, like they're trying to propagandize things that change kids' minds, change young people's minds, more or less your mind. And that's what's kind of scary about it to me, because counterparty risk even goes to like Twitter. Donald Trump didn't think he could just get kicked off Twitter if he was the president. And you can hate the guy, not hate the guy. But it's kind of wild that happened, and that it still is like what is going on. And I mean, we could get kicked off. Anybody can get kicked off. So there goes your.
And that's counterparty risk, right?
And there goes your source. Yeah. Do you have a website built out? Can you post your stuff somewhere? Like yada yada. Yeah. And that's another thing we should probably talk about, though, is the whole Twitter Blue thing. I see so many people taking it the wrong way, making fun of people for paying for Twitter, kind of like insulting people who like want the fake blue check mark. It's like, you guys don't understand. I mean, like, if you need a blue check mark to be influential, that's the problem. The blue check mark situation is more or less so that we are no longer the product. Right. We don't want to, the consumer, the person who's just on Twitter should either decide whether they want to be the product or they want to use the service, and they don't want to be the product. And the product is being like sold, advertised. I mean, like what you tell your kids, like all kinds of, like, marketing extends pretty deep, and you can't deny anybody starts getting biases once they start looking at ads, and things happen, dude. Like, when nobody's perfect, we're all getting these dopamine hits to our brain every 6 seconds nowadays. Yeah. And most of them are honestly ads. I mean, most of them, because they're all paid for anyway.
Well, so, the Twitter blue check deal that Elon Musk has recently done, where you can pay $8. For those of you guys that don't know, you pay $8 a month and you can get the Twitter verified check mark. It's very proof of stake, right? It plays into, in my mind, what would be the sin nature of pride. It plays to people feeling like they've accomplished or deserve or have earned something, right? And
so you don't like the blue check mark.
I mean, I'm indifferent about it, you know, like I don't like go do your deal, like do whatever you want to do. But I do think it's kind of funny. Like I feel like, I mean, like the verification deal, like I don't know. I guess I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, I think it's good in some sense, because then it's like, hey, at least like all of the bots that are out there. I mean, we talked about this, right? Like all the bots that are on Twitter. What if in order to get rid of all the bots, you had to, you know, stream a couple sats to Twitter or through Twitter or whatever to verify that, hey, I'm a real person. Like, yeah. I think that it could be good in that sense potentially, right? But then you also get now, you know, because people are swayed, right? People are swayed easily, and so now what if you've got some bozo that has you know, paid his $8 for his verification check mark, and then starts influencing people because people see that he's got a check mark. But then also at the same time, right, the whole thing has to be, everything that we do should be built on personal responsibility. So if you're seeing dumb stuff and you think that it's cool and you start doing that same dumb stuff, well, then you might just be dumb, you know?
Yeah, but my point more so on like the Twitter thing and why I kind of like it, like that's the direction that those social media outlets should go to, is partly in due to what's on the screen right now, which is 2020 ad revenue for Twitter was $562 million. That's a lot of money that people are throwing at you that you don't really realize that you're being sold. Like, you don't, and that's kind of the thing about marketing and the whole social media thing is if everybody just accesses it for free, you're the product.
Yeah.
If everybody had to pay, Twitter wouldn't need ad revenue, and therefore Twitter would be the product. But the problem with Twitter and most social media, in my opinion, is that people are the product. And now people with these check marks are upset that Twitter is establishing this new way of doing things, when I think that is dumb. Because if they start taking $8.99 from you, they also no longer need a cut of your views. They no longer need a cut of your advertisement revenue. They no longer need a cut of certain things because you are the one using the product that is whatever platform is out there. And that, in my opinion, is what makes the internet have the potential to be powerful, more sovereign, a real place for people to do business. But the problem, in my opinion, right now is it's like, dude, our digital identity is more or less slavery. I mean, you can definitely play the game like guys like Mr. Beast and Jake Paul and Logan Paul. And I think that's very smart. I mean, making money is smart, but they even have to recognize at the end of the day that they have to go shh when they tell them to go shh. And who really wants that? That's not right. And that's not right to the consumer as well, because we don't know. And that's why I think what Elon Musk at least is starting to do with Twitter is go, okay, pay $8.99. You'll get 50% less ads, and you can do like kind of a whole bunch of different features that other people can't do. So if you were to deliver a product, you can deliver now a better product than somebody who doesn't have the blue check mark.
I didn't realize that if you bought the blue check mark that they reduced the ads.
Huh?
I didn't realize that they reduce ad streams that come through with the blue check mark. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. I think that's kind of like what we had talked about when we had talked about that Bitcoin node business, right? Right. The idea was, you set up, you do a one-time setup fee for the actual node itself, and then you have an ongoing subscription service for a software that allows you to take all that information within the Bitcoin system and regurgitate it out into some nice charts and statistics that show you good metrics or whatever, right? But that service being paid by the user instead of through ad streams, right, and ad revenue. I think that it should work that way too, because I think a lot of people start to think, just because it has been so accessible, that social media platforms are almost like a public service, like they're a public good, and it's like, no, these are private companies. Well, not private companies necessarily. Most of them are all public companies. But they're like a software, right? Whenever you go in to use their software and you use their server and their platform, like you are literally by definition agreeing to their terms and services. Like you can't download the app and use the app without agreeing to their terms and services. That's a big piece, right? So it's like the same is true with exchanges here. If you want to use an exchange because of the efficiencies, and this was one of Dave Portnoy's deals on the conversation with Jack Mallers, if you want the ease of use of an exchange because of the centralization of exchanges, they're able to make the user experience a lot better, right? Versus a decentralized system like Bitcoin.
Well, they're able to do it faster because
exactly, that was what I was getting at. Was with a decentralized system like Bitcoin, it takes longer to develop because there's not one single person that's like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. Now, again, we're prioritizing the security and the decentralization of Bitcoin versus how fast we can make it grow. But if you want to use the exchange experience, well, then you can do that. That's fine. But understand the counterparty risk you're undertaking, right? What did you have pulled up there? What was the deal with that sandwich? That was a good looking sandwich you had pulled up there.
He was saying how he got his BlockFi credit card last year. Now that he can't use it anymore.
No, I can't even use it.
I mean, it's 100%.
Okay, so
all we want, in my opinion, to wrap it up, all I want from social media platforms in the future, where I personally would say the future is And I think these things are being built on like the impervious browser, whatever the protocol is that Jack tweeted out. Jack Mallers and Strike and Lightning are helping build a lot of these things out interoperatively. But where I think it is okay, there are platforms and Nyc and Griff can do literally anything they want to their page. Like, you know, like you type these boys up on these platforms and here's Nyc's everything. His Twitter, his Instagram, his Facebook, his videos, whatever they wanted to create for you and their profile online, their digital identity. They can do that. We can learn how to code. We can build new things on our part of the protocols, on our part of the internet. We should be able to do whatever we want. Think about some of these ideas people have had, like Vine or TikTok. Somebody should have been able to just make that on their page, and then that is how it spread. Not, they sold it and then got a bunch of users and then centralized it and then sold ad revenue. I think the future is somebody has that idea, they build it onto their page, you can go see it on their page, and then people start copying them. And like it grows from more of a individual basis, which I think
it's more organic, you know. It's like a regular idea that you got in your head that you tell somebody about, and then it ultimately turns into a business 2 or 3 years down the line or whatever.
Ultimately, I also think it makes it like potentially possible for things like agriculture and farming, like people out where you live in Oklahoma and Kansas and whatnot, to start growing economies faster. Because now guys like me who like living near a city, mostly because of just like how easy it is to live here right now with Wi-Fi, things like that. But maybe I want to go live somewhere else, and it's just like these other obstacles, like actually being able to make money and participate in the economy and be in the real world. Now I can build my website and profile online for my farm and wherever the hell in Wyoming, and I can be connected and I can ship things out and do whatever to actually make money. But if I had to go through some centralized platform, all of a sudden I'm at the mercy of the gods, basically. What percentage do you charge? What can I do for you? And it's like, dude, you're the one selling the product. So the only charge should really be like, I don't know, like
the product.
No, there should be, dude. You buy like whatever you paid to put into making the product. And then the internet is so great and Bitcoin is so great, should be pretty much 99.99% of profit goes to you. And boom. That is, I think, the game changer, because it's not just entertainment. It's every industry and every sole proprietorship and entrepreneur can now go anywhere in the world and do their thing. And Bitcoin, I think, enables that in the internet, but I don't know. And I don't know if Elon has that kind of vision. I mean, like the dude probably just wants to make money, but I think him at least changing the game up and like offering that as a solution and sticking to it is like, it's obviously going to radicalize like what other people do, because people are going to realize soon when they're on Instagram, they're like, why am I looking at so many ads? And when I'm on Twitter, there are no ads. I'm going to go to Twitter. I bet that Twitter gets so popular as Elon keeps tweeting there's more users. I bet it gets so popular. I bet it becomes like the biggest thing. Twitter is huge. Everything that's said on Twitter controls every election, like it already kind of has. Like, I just think it's going to be way bigger than everything else, because he made the right move. That's more towards where we need to go. He understands that. He understands.
Well, I think if I zoom out, thinking about FTX again here and what happened over the past week, it's important for the listeners to remember FTX and all the other exchanges are not Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is not crypto in the same way that all of these other cryptos are crypto. Crypto is the degenerate scam, right? It's the poser. They're the guys they're just companies selling security in their own equity in their own companies via these crypto tokens, right? So be wary of those. If you're playing around in the crypto game, it should definitely be a small portion of your portfolio. I mean, that's like super aggressive, high risk, high reward. Like, these are all going to zero. You might make some money in the short term. But remember, crypto is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not exchanges. These things are separate, completely separate infrastructures. If you've got money in a Fidelity account and Fidelity for whatever reason goes out of business tomorrow, that does not mean that the companies that you hold within your investment account with Fidelity, that does not mean that those companies are going to zero. That means that the exchange had bad problems, and the exchange did not handle its problems properly. Now, a ton of people owned Bitcoin, bought and owned Bitcoin. Well, we say owned. They didn't quite own it, but they bought Bitcoin and it was held within the exchange. That is a custodial service. That means the exchange is holding your Bitcoin for you. Well, now that withdrawals have been locked, that means that the Bitcoin you held in your custodial account within FTX, in this example, is no longer accessible until they make it accessible, if they ever do, right? If they end up having to liquidate, well, then the creditors go first. The actual depositors of the funds are the last people that get paid out if a company has to liquidate. So the question is, what is the answer? If you're going to buy, you can buy Bitcoin on pretty much any exchange. I think most of them you can self-custody from, meaning you can send it to your own wallet where you've got your own keys. I think you can do that on most of them. The question then becomes, or the questions should become, if I want to buy Bitcoin, am I able to, with this service that I'm buying it through, am I able to self-custody this Bitcoin? And what fee am I paying to buy this Bitcoin? If you are paying a shit ton in fees to buy Bitcoin, you're doing it wrong. You can if you're probably able, wherever you're at listening, you're probably able to download Strike and buy Bitcoin for 0 fees. And I think you can do that on several other platforms as well. But you need to self-custody your Bitcoin. If you have got Bitcoin on exchanges, you don't actually own that Bitcoin. It's a difference in living in the house and living in the house and also owning the house, right? If you don't actually own the Bitcoin in your own keys, that is not your Bitcoin. And if the exchange that you're holding your Bitcoin on goes down, that does not mean that Bitcoin is bad. That means that the exchange is bad. Now, are we going to see short-term price reflections of that? Of course. I mean, dude, of course. Like, tons of people had money in Bitcoin in FTX, and FTX goes down. It causes uncertainty looking forward in the entire industry of crypto, which Bitcoin is included in. Bitcoin is included in that in most people's minds, right? You and I know that, and the listeners know that Bitcoin is not crypto, right? Like crypto is crypto. And but we've got to remember, right? If you are not holding the keys to the wallet that your Bitcoin is in, you do not own the Bitcoin. You are renting that Bitcoin. You are renting ownership of that Bitcoin. Whoever holds the keys to the wallet that owns the Bitcoin actually owns the Bitcoin. So when you buy Bitcoin, self-custody it. Put it on a wallet. It's as simple as what I showed earlier. Download Blue Wallet on your phone, create a Bitcoin wallet, write down your 12 words, and move your Bitcoin to a Blue Wallet. It's that simple. You can worry about starting a node and getting hardware wallet. You can worry about that later. As long as you get it just somewhere else off of the exchange, then you're safe. Do you agree, Griff? What would you add to that?
I would very much agree. I think we both have just been like going off because it's been such like nobody likes to see. No, I do. We've all been waiting for this. If you've been in Bitcoin, you have been waiting for this. This is fantastic. This is what you want to see. I don't care. I mean, like, who really knows what the real price of any asset is in the world today in regards to the dollar price of it? I mean, I'm betting things at the end of this whole thing, this recession or whatever we're in, Nick. Here's my bet. It ultimately goes all way up. Everything goes way up to oblivion. Why? Because they printed 40% of the dollars and the dollar is lost.
Because the dollar's going to zero.
Inflation is not transitory. So we will never go back to the prices we were at 2 years ago. And they did it too quickly to where everybody's like, this is complete BS. Like, our society is not like it is. Things aren't going well. Look at the treasury markets. Look at the unemployment. Look at where things are going. It's not going well. Look at all the layoffs from companies that don't actually profit and just had people in positions sitting at home doing nothing. I mean, there were so many things in our economy that were inflated, because inflation is a dangerous, dangerous game. And so I think me and Nick are just kind of going off because it's like all of these things, whether it's the recession, whether it's the crypto exchanges, whether it's the layoffs, it's like, all right, whether it's Elon putting $8 on Twitter, it's like these are all things that people in Bitcoin have been talking about for a while, if you've been paying attention and you've been in the weeds, like Nick and I are on our Twitter pages and whatnot, we have been like doing this for a year. We've been in the weeds. You're 100% right. Get a hot wallet. If you want to go further and get a node, get a node. I'm actually going to venture into that here pretty soon and get myself a node and start running one. I think that's super cool. I think if I ever owned a property in my life, I think running a Bitcoin miner is advantageous. I think that's something that everybody should probably just start doing. And I think they're going to do it. So it's a good time to be a Bitcoiner, because we know, as people who probably put a good chunk of our investment money right now as young people, I know I do. I don't need to explain how much, but like all of it. I mean, like it's for me it's either cash or it's Bitcoin, because I'm not going to buy other assets right now that are in all of this uncertainty with all this counterparty risk, because FTX is just a microcosm of what our central banks are. I mean, actually, it might be, not even as bad. I mean, it might literally just be like 1-for-1 in that category. So if you're a Bitcoiner, these are nice wins, but there's more to come. I mean, like, this is not over. It's going to just keep on rolling. And I don't know. We'll see. But if Bitcoin survives, we'll be good. I mean, we know that. And that's all that needs to happen is that Bitcoin survives. I mean, like, that's it. Somebody just needs a copy of that damn ledger and we're cooking, and like, that's it.
I think it's something else I think is important to note, Griff, that we've kind of talked about a little bit before too, is that, as much as we talk about Bitcoin, Bitcoin is not like the only thing when it comes to personal finances. There is so much more to your personal finances than just buying Bitcoin. You need to manage your cash flow appropriately. You need to be saving. You need to be saving money, right? Whether that's in cash, in Bitcoin, you need to be saving, like, whatever is in your personal life, right? Whatever is happening in your life, what is the best strategy for you? Only you are able to know, or somebody that's able to help you. But you've got to manage inflows of money. You've got to manage outflows of money, which is typically called budgeting, right? Yep. People a lot of times look at budgeting as a negative thing. You've got to view it as an accounting principle. Like, you literally just need to account for what is coming in and what is going out, so that I know where my money is going. So that then, once you know what you've got going in and going out, what you've got left over, now you're able to decide with design, right, with intention, okay, now how do I want to manage and grow and steward and give, and how can I serve others? Like, then you can start asking those questions, which is where investments come, which is where purchasing Bitcoin comes, which is where storing cash comes, buying real estate, starting businesses. That's what happens, right? So I want to say that to say Bitcoin is not the one and only answer to all of your problems, right? You still have to budget. You still have to manage those things appropriately.
Yeah, Bitcoin is the the money. I mean, like, but at the end of the day, life is on you. I mean, it's
personal responsibility, right?
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
You know what I would say though, too, Nick, because I was deep diving this whole Twitter thing yesterday, and what I think we need to start talking about a lot more is less about the world and how it's failing. Bitcoiners pretty much right about a lot of it. They were like, yeah, I don't know, the Swan Bitcoin and a lot of these like OG Bitcoiners were like, all of these guys are insolvent. They've been saying it for months. I mean, literally, we've been saying it for months. So like, they don't have it. And I'm like, the banks don't have it. And it's pretty funny. But I was deep diving Lightning yesterday, and dude, there are so many Lightning companies out there. I mean, like, literally, I feel so behind now. And that part stresses me out, because as Nick knows, it's like, I think Lightning is the future. I think building a business on Lightning is like probably the most advantageous thing you can do as a sole proprietor corporation. I think getting involved into that network is like the most important thing you could be doing right now in business. And there are things being built, Nick. I mean, like, a lot of things. And we're going to start getting some of these guests on. I know Nick has been reading some books, actually, of some Bitcoiners that we're going to start having on here. We're also going to start having on Lightning developers, because this is a podcast about learning. And Nick and I, on our 50th episode, we were talking about it last night. It's like, recommitting to learning is hard in this space, bro. I mean, because you already learned so much, you feel you're like, all right, like how much more is there to learn? But I'm telling
Well,
you,
especially when you're busy with other parts of your life too.
oh,
You know, it's like this is for sure a hobby, and
right.
other things are much more important than Bitcoin. You know, and so yeah, I mean, it can be tough to like, okay, let's dive back in. Let's really dive into some new topic or new side of Bitcoin. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Bitcoin. I think it's really interesting. I think it's really fun. But I've got a lot of other things that are much more important in my life than Bitcoin.
Well,
Which is funny
I
because
mean,
we're on episode 50 of our Bitcoin centric podcast.
I don't know. There's nothing more important in my life than Bitcoin, to be honest with you, because I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like maybe,
You really think so? That's a bold statement, Griff.
I mean, like, Sierra is more important. Like, her protection is more important. Like, certain things like that, absolutely. But no, I mean, I truly feel like the world is quite off its rocker. I mean, like, I more or less do kind of feel like we're not living in a dark age because there's been so much great advancement and technology built and things of that nature. But we're in a dark age of how we view other people. We're in a dark age of how we view other countries. I mean, war and all these things. Like, we're in a dark age of nation states running everything. Literally little kids making decisions for everybody. And I do truly think now to the point they're influencing our lives to every single degree. So it's like, if we don't start fixing the money or we don't start promoting and accelerating Bitcoin faster, then our kids are going to have to live under this as well. And so I do kind of feel like it's coming to a point where, getting a little bit more involved or turning your hobby up a notch and maybe actually building a business on Lightning, maybe actually going out and getting the node to grow the Bitcoin network might be something, if you really believe in this, is something you should start doing, because they're starting to squeeze in, guys. Do you know how they actually combat inflation? Biden tweeted out yesterday, oh, well, first president ever in 2 years to actually shrink the deficit 1.7 trillion. Who knows how statistically true it really is? Who really knows? Whatever. But if that is true, they can only get money back like a couple ways: taxes or taxes. So it's coming out of your pocket. And the only way we get the deficit down is you, the U.S. citizen. We're not winning any trade battles, guys. Japan is selling every treasury they have right now. So they're only going to be able to shrink this deficit by taxing you. And I don't know.
Or printing money.
But, well, yes, that is number 2.
Or borrowing.
That is a tax, though. I mean, inflation is a tax. I mean, it's a tax because it's something that the government does. At this point, they do control the money, and they're the ones who ask for the money, and they're the ones who control the policy that spends the money. So effectively, the inflation, in my opinion, is a tax. But you're right. Like, they can print the money. And honestly, if anybody here thinks that they're going to be able to keep shrinking this thing while things are still, like, do you know how we've increased interest rates higher than it was in 2008 when it crashed the economy, and we're still going? That's how bad inflation is. But we're not even talking about the other side of the equation, which is also pretty bad. I mean, like, we have a housing market that was propped up on 0% interest rates from 2009 on. So that's why I think what I say when I come all the way back to Bitcoin is probably the most, one or two, like, why I feel like it should start becoming 1, 2, or 3 in my life, whether it become work, my marriage, or fiance, soon to be marriage. Like, that's obviously important, but Bitcoin has got to be up there if you're a freedom fighter, in my opinion. If you're somebody who really does believe that, like, the new world is definitely being built, and it's not like a new world order, it's a Bitcoin world. I mean, like, and that, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I think it could be beautiful, but
for sure.
Who knows? I mean, it's going to be a tough ride, bro. I mean, it's already getting pretty tough, so we'll see.
Well, Griff, I thought the conversation was kind of fun. It's interesting. You see all the stuff that happens over the week, and we chat a little bit back and forth through the week via text, and it's funny. We always call each other. You call me, and I'm like, oh man, I'm busy doing this thing, and then I call you when I'm free, and you're busy doing that thing. But man, it's always interesting to see like little things that happen throughout the week, and then it's always fun, of course, coming here on Saturday mornings and get to hang out and chat about it and stuff. And we appreciate you guys listening. Come check us out down here on Twitter. It is at Nyc and Griff Show. It's all spelled out NYC ANDGRIFF. Griff is 2 F's. GRIFF SHOW. Nyc and Griff Show. You can also go to nycandgriffshow.com. That'll shoot you to our link tree, which will take you to all the platforms we're on. So if you guys also are not listening, or if you guys are not watching, we've got video on Spotify and on YouTube. So come check us out on those two platforms, and you can kind of see us a little bit. Sometimes we share stuff on the screen. Sometimes when we do article reads, we'll bring it up so you guys can follow along and stuff. But come hit us on Twitter. We'd love to talk to you guys. Griff, it was another good Saturday, man, and I'll see you next weekend.